bring in some excitement, wherever you are. Experience the outside world. And that's the best thing that happened to me. The experience happens only through experiment. This is one way I reconnect to nature. Please fail for the first time. Our lifestyle has completely moved away from being earth-friendly. Mantra has to be reuse. That's a new word called eco-anxiety. You don't have a magic wand where everybody is sensitized.
Hello, this is Hency Thacker from the CSR Journal. Welcome to another episode of India Unplugged, Leaders in Action. Today we have with us Vani Murthy, or Worm Rani as we all know her as. Vani ji is known for her work in sustainable waste management and composting. Vani ji, welcome to the CSR Journal. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Hency. And yes, I'm doing good. Thank you.
Okay, so let's first talk about how you started environmental activism. So what inspired you to focus on waste management and composting specifically?
So there was no plan of action there. I didn't plan anything. I've been a homemaker. It so happened that, after my boys grew up, I started exploring, meeting people who are groups of people in our area in Malleshwaram. And slowly I started understanding that I can do some contribution. So I became a part of that group, and slowly we started doing many things. And I think waste just happened. It was not something I chose. And once you understand and are aware of the humongous problem that our lifestyle creates in the space of waste, and with the pollution that happens, I think it's an amazing journey that I have been on, constantly learning and sharing my practices and all that. Yeah.
So I'm sure you must have faced a lot of challenges when you started, considering you were saying that you were a homemaker, and then from that, jumping into something which requires a lot of your time. So, how did you overcome these challenges, or what were some of the specific challenges that you faced?
I think right from the beginning, I took a challenge as something that I'm resolving, because we are in the space of, instead of the problem, we are looking at the solution. So that, I find there's no space to tell it's challenging, because you stop, the solution disappear when you say it's a challenge. So for many people who keep saying, this is what it is, it's so challenging, I say the minute you look at it as a challenge, then you either take it on very well or you just give up. So just bring in some excitement, wherever you are.
Right. So since you must be spending a lot of time in nature, what is your favorite way of spending time in nature?
I think soil is one of the best things that I have reconnected with nature. So building soil, growing food, I think that's the best takeaway in this journey for me, because finally I learned what is safe food and how food should be grown in living soil, which has organic matter. So my choices in life became where I choose to be on a CSR, a community supported agriculture, where I buy the vegetables what the farmer grows, and there are all marginal farmers, they come as a corporate, they come together and then they send. So I think that's the best takeaway for me in this whole thing.
And what are some of the personal milestones that you are really proud of, in your journey?
I can't believe that I can talk on a camera. I can, say a few things, because I was not that type of a girl at all. Very shy and, hardly would talk to groups of people. But then what I developed to become, not just the caring citizen of this planet, but I brought my authentic self out, and I was able to learn to, experience the outside world. And that's the best thing that happened to me.
Let's, focus on something that you're really good at. So can you explain, how composting works, and specifically how it is beneficial for the beginners?
Right. So first of all, when you say composting, most people will be very hesitant, because they really don't know why they're doing it, and why should we do it? Because most people have this attitude, I have a busy lifestyle, there are a lot of things that are constraints in their lives, which they feel this is something that I don't think I can take on. But when you understand why you need to compost, then it becomes such an amazing practice, a daily practice in our lives. So for me, getting them to understand why they need to compost, because they should understand that it's a great resource that's getting lost. It's not just getting lost, double whammy. It actually pollutes the environment, because at the land dumps, they are compacted, and all the organic matter that we throw out, breaks down anaerobically and methane gets out, and methane is a greenhouse gas. So if you know all these problems and how our lifestyle is impacting, then we start looking at, can't I manage the smallest portion of waste that is coming out is from my home. It will be 1.5 kgs. If I can't manage it, no organization or no municipality will be able to manage if it is dumped with tons of garbage, the whole city, that mixed garbage. So I think that's the key to learning composting. Find out the choice I made to compost is this, and that will never leave your sight. You're always focused on that. And when you know that, then composting becomes an experience, and that experience happens only through experiment. So look at it as a kind of lab. Get your children involved. Don't worry about what the compost throws as a challenge, because we are just mimicking the natural world. You can't go to a forest resort and say, I don't want spiders, I don't want ants, because they are a part of the ecosystem. So your compost is also an ecosystem that's getting built there. So you can't say, I can't have creepy crawlies. There are too many. When I open the compost, there are some things that fly out, small bugs. So I think you have to say, this is one way I reconnect to nature. I failed terribly when I did for the first time, but I'm so glad I failed. I tell everybody, please fail for the first time, because it's okay to fail. Don't be afraid of failure, and you learn so much after that.
Do you have any tips, for someone who's just going to start doing it right after they finish watching this interview with you?
So my tip will be, just start, because composting is something that unless you start, it's an art. I don't even call it science, because there is a science behind composting, but it's an art. So you need a container, an aerobic container, where air should be there. There should be enough air, because the microorganisms that break down are aerobic in nature. Like us, they need to breathe. So it should be an aerobic container. Then you have your fresh green waste from your kitchen, all your peels and all that. And then you need browns to manage that. It's very wet. The kitchen waste is very wet. You need browns. There are a lot of dry leaves that fall in season. We collect and keep it. If you don't get dry leaves, you can use coco peat. So, and then you need to add some microbes so that you speed in the composting. Right. And because we all are having small spaces, we can't wait for it to forever for it to finish, becoming a compost. So we all these are things that we learn. And I think that, that journey itself is so amazing, that every time you see something and you understand, you can Google search and find out, there are so many tips. People give you so many tips on YouTubes and all that. So it's not something that is not unavailable. It's available everywhere.
How can someone start right away if they really don't have space for garden, or they live in the apartment? Like, do you have any ideas where, somebody who lives in an urban area without a balcony, because again, in cities like Mumbai, balconies are luxury.
Yes.
So how can you, get on with that?
Yeah, there are a lot of people in Mumbai who are actually doing it in their that window which projects out. That's the balcony that you have. They keep the compost system, put 2 plants, and any excess compost you can always give to people who have plants at home. That's one way. If you can't grow, if you don't have space to grow some vegetables or something, you can always gift it, or go to the park and put it. So it's never get wasted. It's going to go back to soil. It is helping soil, let life thrive in the soil, because this is organic matter, which is so important, which is completely missing in today's soil.
What are some of the simple changes people can make to reduce the waste that they generate?
Right. That's extremely important, because the thing is, this is one planet. It has limited resources, right? And we keep depleting the resources by there's so much demand. Our consumption is so high now. In today's world, the consumption is so high. Our lifestyle has completely moved away from being earth friendly. Mantra has to be reuse. So my tip is, wherever you go out, if you want to buy, drink a tender coconut water, don't accept the straw. Before he puts the straw, you say no. Or you go to a juice shop, before he puts the straw in, you tell him, don't bring the straw. I don't want the straw. Either carry your own straw, drink it like that. It's so much fun to drink, the coconut. We have so much fun. We have competition. Who will not wet their chin, kind of. So we learn to drink. That's how they used to. I think that's one. Carry your own bottle. Refill it wherever you go. It should be a practice that when you leave home, I put my phone, I put my key, I put my goggle, maybe umbrella during the rainy season. Don't forget to keep a bottle there. maybe a straw, a steel spoon, a tumbler, so that whenever you want to have a chai and they're giving in these paper cups, you can say, no, put it in my cup. Give this chai in my cup.
Everybody reads about these news, about climate change and all these environmental issues that are happening, and we highlight all of them. So everybody gets, I mean, a lot of people I know that they get really overwhelmed about these things. So what would you like to say to such people who are really overwhelmed by, all these issues?
Yeah, that's a new word called eco-anxiety. So
Yes.
yes, they are all totally, worried, and they feel they're not doing enough, and keep, beating themselves up for even, not taking on new practices or whatever. So I
Right.
think that doesn't help at all. Because mental health is so important in today's world. We need to be proud and happy with whatever we're doing at our pace. You don't have to like start a practice in a week's time. I'm zero waste. It cannot happen like that. So we have to be just conscious, mindful of how we are consumption and our lifestyle, so that when we realize and educate ourselves on the impact of this is how I do things and there is an impact. When you educate yourself, I think that anxiety goes away. I still know people when they go to somebody's wedding and they'll see bottled water, they all are fuming. For me, I will go, and in fact, they'll come and say, we're so sorry, huh? We have this. I said, why did I ask you? I didn't tell you anything. I'm enjoying the, so I don't get disturbed, because for me, that's a complete energy drain. Because the minute you look at things that are not happening like how you want them to be, you made a choice and but those people still haven't transformed in that way. It takes a long time. Like I was just telling the other people, you don't have a magic wand where everybody is sensitized, everybody's got into this. So when it's not, it's like for me, one person at a time is also great for me. Though it's not going to reach goals, but there are thousands of like me will do one person at a time. Also, it's fine. You don't have to be perfect. Imperfectly, you be conscious, and just don't get into the thing of judging people in your own homes. Again, people will not be doing like how you do, but the minute you start, that resistance itself is a drainer. You shouldn't be, your mental health should be at the peak for you to give your best. So if I had all problems, people are not composting this, that, I wouldn't be in this space now. I'm still excited what I am doing and how I contribute. And if I can use tools like social media and have fun experimenting with that, learning new things, editing my own videos, I'm very happy. So stay in a happy place where your contribution is very valuable, because it's making a difference.
Right. I think that's a breath of fresh air, because generally when we speak with people who are really concerned about environment, they are always about giving out warnings that do this now, otherwise some days, a few years later, you will have no choice but to do this, or your children will not have good air to breathe, and aren't you ashamed of yourself, and things like that. So it's very, and things like that, they really get to you, and it really, I don't know if someone else feels alarmed enough to take an action, but I do know people who kind of they feel pressurized to do something at that moment, but they kind of take up more on their plate than they can actually do for a long time.
Right.
I think I didn't know if it was productive or not, but what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense, and I think it's really nice to have that kind of outlook. So thank you so much for sharing your insights and joining us today. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, Hency. Thank you so much. And thank you for the CSR Journal for having me on your platform.